Welcome to the Chamber Members Podcast. During our short 15-minute episode, we'll go over a business tip of the week, chamber announcements, and we'll get to hear a story of another special guest, Josh with Pedal Stomper Productions. First, I'd like to mention real quick, if you are a chamber member and you'd like to be featured on upcoming podcasts here this summer or later this fall, feel free to reach out to myself or Sean Hendrick and we'll get you on the schedule. Now for our business tip of the week, Sean with SBS Consulting Systems.
So today we're going to talk about goal setting and 90-day goals in particular. 90-day goals are very important to grow your business because it helps set guidelines for where you want to go and develop micro strategies to get there. Studies have shown that 90-day goals are pretty much the best ones that you can have because after about 90 days, your attention and your focus starts to wane. So if you set a goal, 90-day goal, and then each 90 days review it and set another goal, you can really start to build some momentum, start to have some successes, and really start to grow and to build your business. One thing we do at SBS Consulting Systems is once we set these 90-day goals, we'll then go and set weekly goals of how to, or what I call micro strategies on how to achieve these 90-day goals and really to implement them and to grow your business from there. So like I said, we can help you with those, but this is the tip of the week, SBS Consulting Systems, and I'm Sean Hendrick.
Thank you, Sean. Josh, thanks for joining us this week.
Thank you guys for having me. It's weird being out here.
Yeah, we're looking at you from a different angle this time.
Right?
Yeah, we're closer now. It's disappointing for you, I'm sure.
So I'm looking forward to kind of hearing your story and how you created Pedal Stomper Productions and, these amazing podcast studios you got going on now.
Thanks. It started for me years ago. I actually worked at a semi-truck dealership, and the boss was like, hey, go out and take a couple of pictures of some of these trucks to sell. And from there, I kind of leveraged that into, I'm like, well, if I can take pictures of them, why don't I make videos of them? And I ended up with a YouTube channel that had about 19,000 subscribers. There's a couple of videos approaching 1 million views. That's where the kind of, I've always had a thing for video and photo and stuff like that, but that's where I'm like, oh man, I can do this. So started with that, and that has blossomed. I went full time with the business a little over 2 years ago now.
Okay.
Have loved it ever since. And then earlier this year, we built the 2 podcast studios that one of which we're sitting in right now.
Yeah. Amazing.
That's beautiful too.
Thank you.
I think we first met a few months ago when you're launching the studio up in Cuyahoga Falls.
That was it. Yes.
And I was just like, man, this thing's awesome. Like, we need to get something involved, So I talked to Molly at the chamber, and she's like, yeah, someone else was interested. So I talked to Sean, and we started to get things rolling. It's been a process that's really, really exciting. So I'm glad we can use the space.
Yeah, and you guys have had some great conversations in here. It's been awesome.
Thank you.
So, it didn't start with video podcast studios. How I know you mentioned you started with the company you're working for and branched out, but when you left there, what was kind of your vision? How'd you build those skills to kind of do everything you provide now?
It's kind of interesting because when I was doing the YouTube stuff, it really was. I was in front of the camera, I was behind the camera, I was editing, I was doing all the things that, and I've always joked, if you ever start to like yourself a little bit, film yourself for a solid day and then watch it for like another day and a half straight. You will be like, I hate that guy. That guy needs to go away. But really, it started I don't want to say out of necessity, but I saw the videos and I always wanted to get better. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that I love about it is there's always opportunities to get better with it. When I started to get into it, I wrote out a business plan that said in 3 to 5 years, I go full time, and then the opportunity presented itself, and it's like, let's go.
Nice.
Amazing. So my limited knowledge of photography, I know there's a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes. How'd you dive into learning those skills? Was there like a school? Did you hit the books? Did you watch other YouTube videos and struggle from there? How does that process work in that field?
There's a combination of it, actually. Photography, everyone's like, oh, I've got an iPhone. I'm like, Congratulations. That's why your thumb is in half the pictures too. Or that's why people aren't centered. It's really getting some basic techniques I learned from basic videos on YouTube University. But it's like anything else, and it's like even the business side of it and like that, you have to go out and practice. It is a skill to get good photos. There are some people that are born with some natural talent. One of the photographers that works for me, she had never picked up a camera before in her life, but she had some great photos on her phone. And I'm like, she's got an eye for it. So I needed to teach her the technical side of it, and we got her up to steam with that. So, but there's always new gear. There's always new stuff. There's always new things to learn. And that's one of the things that I love about it. But I can still take a decent picture with my phone. And like, if you compare mine to someone that doesn't have any photo experience, there's typically, you can be like, oh, I know which one.
You see
to
that.
take.
Yeah. Well, and the passion behind it, the love for it and the passion really go a long way and speak in the work.
That's a huge part of it. And some of the best photos I have is because I was out willing to be outside or willing to be in these crappy conditions that no one else wanted to be in.
Right.
Yeah, it makes it just like you mentioned last week on your business tip of the week, it's, putting that time.
Yeah, the consistency.
That consistency and just learn a little bit, spend that 18 minutes a day for the year. And you're 95% better than your competition, just that consistency. So
yeah, it's consistently looking at and looking at photos. I mean, I edit every single photo that we run, so we can look at it and be like, what do we need to do to get better? Because there's always little tweaks that you can make.
Now, I know you have a wide range of services, but what are some of the services that you guys offer?
The main things that we do is we do a lot of event photos and that. In fact, we do a fair bit of work for Belden Village. We've done a lot of work for the mall with photos, videos, a lot of the event stuff. We also work with a number of nonprofits for doing promotional videos for them. And that's one of my favorite kind of passion things, because we love telling those stories at some of those. Yes. The ability to get in there and tell their stories. Same thing with some of the commercial side. There's a lot of great businesses out there that their stories need told. Yeah. And we absolutely love doing that. We do that both photo and video. And then once again, here in the podcast studio.
Yeah, it's been nice. The two we did with the Almond Care Foundation and Pathway Caring for Children. It's nice to see what they have going on and how they support the community and what support they need. For sure. And it's one of the things that I love about it. For me, I'm a storyteller. You can tell by the amount that I'm rambling around here. So being a storyteller, though, I love coming in and hearing these stories and helping these people tell stories that may not get out otherwise. Like Pathways, their story, they market well. They do things to get out in front of people. But the fact that you guys brought them into the studio here, there was a story there that, I mean, if you haven't watched that yet, people will need to go out and watch it or listen to it. But there's stories there that probably wouldn't get told to many people otherwise. And that is what I absolutely love. That's what gets me up in the morning. Yeah. And definitely video and podcasts allow that storytelling. And it's the easiest and best way to get that across. Over and over without, I mean, we spend a few hours and you can keep posting it. I mean, it's out there forever. You might get a million views, you don't know. Exactly it. It's out there just forever, working for you all the time. Yeah. Even the photos, the same thing. It's out there working for you all the time. So we always like to ask business owners, especially small business owners getting started in their first 10 years. So, what I guess first is around the customer. So what problem do you solve, or what need do you fill for your customers? For me, it's that the problem is so many of them need to tell their story, don't know how to tell their story. That's one part of it. The other one is in so many cases, it's just generating that marketing material for them. Someone's got an event, like let's say for instance, there's an event at the Hall of Fame. Rather than having one of your employees run around getting 4 pictures that they're going to forget about until the last minute, that they're going to be half on an angle, there's going to be a thumb in it, there may be some kid picking his nose in the background that they didn't notice. Yeah. We come in and take those photos and get rid of that pain. So now they've got photos not only to say, look at what we did, but they've also got photos to promote that event the next year. And they've got photos to do other stuff with. And it's the same thing with the videos. We've created video clips for people from events where we've gotten 100 clips out of it. We used 30 for the initial video to say, hey, look at what we did.
And then 2 months later, they're like, hey, we got an event that's got something similar. Great. Let's come up with a video for it. So it really helps with that marketing, and it gets rid of that pain point. And we can do stuff vertical too, because I know reels are hot. So we'll do stuff for vertical also. So that way people can put reels together.
Nice.
It just takes the pain away, makes it easy for them. They don't need to think about it.
So why do customers choose you over a competitor? And there's a lot of people that do photography. There's,
There is.
How did you differentiate yourself? And, I know you provide a little bit more than some other people do. So tell me a little bit about that.
We have a little bit more depth. We have, in many cases, I was supposed to be working with a professional golfer here in a project coming up, and like, hey, do you have a photographer that can work with us on this? And I said, yeah, one of my photographers just came in off the PGA Tour. So we've got depth in the bench, I guess, that you could say that we pull from. The other thing is I always strive to become a partner of whatever business we're working with. We want to know your business. We want to know what you do. We want to tell that story correctly. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're going to take the time to do. It's video and photo is very much like paint going on a house. It's so much about the prep work and not as much about the paint. If we put in the time in the prep, it's going to come out looking great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's so important. So let's get back into inside of being a small business owner. What has been the biggest risk you've taken and that has paid off?
We're sitting in it.
Yeah. We thought that was going to be the answer.
That's, 100% it. We're sitting in it. This was, there was a number of people that were like, hey, you should do a podcast studio. We need something like that here locally. And it ended up, I was planning for one, and the opportunity popped up that I just kind of had to take on the second one. So I wrote more checks than I was very much planning on.
A lot of equipment.
A lot of equipment.
People don't see it. There's a lot of stuff on their table.
There's a lot of lights and shining stuff over there that is flashing, and yes. But to me, this is it. And it's been great so far. We're gaining traction. It's never, so many businesses open their doors and they're like, we're here. And everyone's like, you're going to hear crickets.
Yeah.
It has taken us a little while to get some of that traction, but as we've gotten traction, especially thanks to guys like you, this has been, the phone is ringing, people are coming in, nice. They see the value behind it. So the risk is feeling much better now. I can sleep better at night.
Plus it's nice because you have that staff and they can film for you, and you have a whole wide range of different hours you can shoot for people.
Well, and you were talking about differentiators, and the equipment in the studio in general is a differentiator.
Thanks,
because
yeah.
You provide a quality equipment and quality environment to do it in, for sure.
That's what we're going for. We did not want to stick 4 phones around the outside of the room and be like, go ahead.
Just hold a mic out here.
Right. Mr. Microphone sitting here. Right.
So, yeah, did you think you were going to do video podcasts when you first started, or even 2 years ago, or?
No, there was a friend of mine who has a marketing agency, kind of made a push for it.
Yeah.
He's like, man, he goes, I think you should do it. And it was tough to find spaces that made it work. Mm-hmm. But we did. And so here we sit, and it's been fun.
Nice. Yeah. The one in Cuyahoga Falls is really nice too. You got them laid out pretty much the same, a little bit different decor.
Right. They look different when you
are in them.
Right. Yeah. When you're sitting here on the screen, they look very different. But the most part, we've got them set up for us operationally. That was key to me as a former operations guy, to make sure that whoever sits behind the desk, whether it's here, there, wherever, it doesn't matter, they're pushing the same buttons at the same time, and it all flows.
Yeah. Standardization helps.
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly.
So what was the biggest challenge you faced launching Pedal Stomper Productions?
That is a really good question. To me, it was initially kind of getting the traction to get some of the jobs, because it's so tough when you start out. You're like, man, there are, like you guys mentioned, there's a ton of photo and video people out there, and I'm just starting out. Why would anyone in their right mind write me a check to make a video? So when you're starting out, there's that
the credibility, right?
Right. It's the belief in yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Imposter syndrome.
Yeah. It was tough for me to get that going, but once I got a couple of people in, they're like, "Oh my God, this is amazing," and I was like, "Oh, maybe maybe this can work.
Maybe I am pretty good.
Right. Maybe this can work. And it's been great since. It really
awesome.
has.
Great.
So, is there a particular moment or event that kind of changed your business other than the video podcast? Is it getting started or hitting that, close to 1 million views on your YouTube channel, or, what's...
There was a moment when I had decided that, look, I'm going to do this full time. And I wasn't sure how it was going to go. There was a lot of question marks. And I had been talking with a very large company up in Valley View about doing some videos for them. And I was just basically talking with the position that I was leaving, saying, yep, I'm out of here. I got to do this full time for myself. I got to go on my own. And as I am literally on my way to that meeting to tell them I'm leaving, the phone rings, and it is that client up in Valley View. And he goes, yep, we are going to do this with you. And at that point, I walked into that meeting with a whole different perspective on this is how this is going to go. And they've been great to work with, phenomenal company. I absolutely love it. And it's that moment where I was like, there's that clarification that, yep, this can happen.
I love seeing business owners just go for it and
Yeah.
succeed that way. So it's great.
Oh,
it's great. to hear.
I liken owning a business to a roller coaster ride, because you, one minute you're like, oh, this is exhilarating, this is amazing. And the next minute you're like, oh, this is how I die.
Yeah. Falls on your shoulders, right?
Right.
Yeah,
That's it.
For sure.
What's been like your favorite customer or favorite job, favorite project you've done?
I have to say, I mean, it's always the last project that I've done for the most part. I've got 2 or 3 right now that I am so pumped to be involved in. One of my favorites, I have to say, is with the Barberton Community Foundation. We do their Game Changer Awards every year. We do the videos that they use for those to announce those. And the people that I have met through that are working so hard to change this community, to me is awesome. The fact that I get connected with people like that, and I get to talk to people like that, and I get to tell their stories, that makes it kind of my favorite videos to do. And I get to do it every year.
That's awesome.
That's great. What advice would you give other small business owners?
That's always a big question, because I don't want to be responsible if they mess it up. Yes. I got to go with Sean on this. It's go for it. You need to go for it. If someone has said, boy, you should start a business with that, go for it. Yeah. Look at the numbers. Make sure that the math makes sense, but go for it. If it's remotely possible, do it.
Yep. Awesome. Great
advice. Thanks for coming on our show today.
Thank you guys. It's been a pleasure. I mean, what you guys are doing is awesome, that you're giving so many people voices, and that's so happy that I was able to come on and talk to. Thank you very much.
So I know Sean and I really enjoyed working with you on this project and getting these out every week. So we thank you for your knowledge and your tips you give us on how to post things and how to gain traffic. And I'm sure that's very useful for all your other clients as well. They enjoyed that.
For sure. Thank you.
So I guess up next is our chamber announcements. We have a couple to focus on. First is tomorrow, July 12th, we're going to have a business after hours hosted by Drive Social. And the event's going to be held at the Cast Iron Bar and Grill in Canal Fulton. So be sure to check out details on that on the Chamber's website and stop on by.
Always free food too.
And then not too far after that, next week will be a Quick Connect. It's going to be a breakfast for this month's Quick Connect, and that's going to be at the MC Suites in North Canton. So make sure you get the event details and get your ticket, and come start your day off with some networking, get some good food, and we always have a great speaker. There's always exciting things happening in Canton. So
that's the other thing. I've talked about it a couple times, but for a $15 door prize, you can get up and give a 30-second commercial, which is really great to get out to 60, 80, 100 people your information. So
that wraps up episode 6 of the Chamber Members Podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye.